Hey, this is Ariana Rollins. You're listening to Mindful Manifesting Podcast. So how do you take an idea, a thought, a wish, a dream, and bring it into physical reality? That's exactly what we're talking about today on Mindful Manifesting. But just before we do that, I'd love it if you would go to Amazon, search for Mindful Achiever and my name, Ariana K. Rollins, and pre-order your book, your Kindle book. It's only $2.99. I'm so excited, $2.99. Go grab it. I'd be so grateful if you did that. All right, now on to the show. This is episode 82. I'm going to start with something that I rarely tell people. I'm a kind of private person, if you haven't figured that out already. This body of work is something that I guess I would say I've been developing since I was in my teenage years, but more officially, I've been teaching it for the last 18 years. And the foundation of how I came to what I'm teaching came after a spiritual crisis of being on the wrong path and forcing it, trying to make it work. Something inside of me was screaming that you need to change things, Ariana. You need to end this. But I kept pushing because I had a dream. I had a vision. And it was so powerful. I will tell you, hope is the last thing to die when you got to let something go. And from the outside, everybody thought my life was perfect because, yeah, it looked great. But on the inside, it didn't feel great. I went through my entire nest egg and I got into significant debt for the first time in my life. So looking back, I see I was being invited to look at what was working in my life and what wasn't. I needed to stop forcing and come back to what was most meaningful and connect with my inner being, my true self, as I like to use that term. You know, because here's the thing. When all that exterior stuff is stripped away, we're only left with ourselves. And the only choice is to go in and go deep. So during that time and that fire of torment, I really call it, I discovered this transformational process that not only gets people in touch with their true self, their spiritual nature, it helps them to apply it practically in their life and in their businesses, especially around goal setting, so that they can accomplish it in the most direct manner. That spiritual evolving being is the core of who we are. You know, it's not our ego, it's not our persona. And when we look at moving things from intention to reality, I can't leave that part out because that part is a phenomenal support to helping us manifest things, create things. So let's dive into the show now. How would you know if you're aligned, if your true self is present, if you're connected to your inner being? Well, one of the ways is to check in to see and witness how life is flowing. So I'm going to give you some signs that you're aligned and connected and you're operating from the highest vision of yourself. You wake up feeling grateful. You've got extraordinary energy to get things done. You have really good luck. Synchronicities support you and pave your way. You bounce back from life challenges quickly. You've got resilience. It's not like life is perfect for you, but you get it and you move through whatever you need to move through. You let go of what you need to let go of and you bounce back. You've got a support network of people you can be with where you can be yourself, you know, your raw, unvarnished self. And your work feels aligned with who you are. So those are some signs you're operating from the highest vision of yourself. Now, I'm going to give you some signs where you might be in negative creation mode. What do I mean by that? Well, because we are creating every moment of every day, we are taking our thoughts and our intentions and moving them into physical reality. Sometimes, though, it's not what we want. Sometimes we experience something we created. We may think, nah, it came from the outside. Somebody did this. But truly, we do influence how our life unfolds. I'm not saying we create everything, no, but we influence it. So how would you know if you're in a negative creation mode, which means basically a mindset that is down, frequencies low, maybe you've gone through a health issue or a loss or a disappointment and you haven't been able to shake it off. You're out of balance, out of center. So here's some signs. You dwell on past mistakes. You obsess with what's not going right in your life. Nothing wrong with being a refiner, but we don't want to get stuck in, oh my gosh, this isn't good and that's not good. You don't have a lot of hope for the future. Maybe, in fact, you look to the past and you say, oh yeah, I remember when life was easier. And you have this thinking that somehow if you were back in that time, life would work again. Not happening. Time moves on, as we well know this. Maybe you're living with chronic pain or you're easily taken off your path. So something happens and you don't have that resilience. You don't have that bounce back like you used to. Maybe you feel isolated, not supported. Maybe you doubt yourself or you put others' needs way ahead of yours. Now, why is that in negative creation mode? Well, my beloved friends, is that we can't create for other people. We can only create for ourselves. So if we are putting others' needs, wishes, desires ahead of us, guess what? We're not in positive creation. So just reflect on that just a bit and see, did any of that resonate? That you were operating from your highest vision of yourself, that alignment with true self, or that you were caught in a negative creation mode? Let's just be sincere here, because then we can go somewhere. Now, for anybody who's worked with me or you've listened to the podcast for a while, and if this is the first one you're listening to, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. You know I focus a lot on preparing and tilling the soil before we plant something. Why am I talking about that when we're talking about intentions? Well, if we are planting what we want in the future in soil that has not been cleaned out from the old things that we had intended, and we've got half-started plants growing in there, maybe withering, but we haven't pulled them out, or we've got boulders, or we've got rocks, and we are intending to put more things into that, and there's not space. It's full. So when you're intending something new, something desirable, good for you, woohoo, love it that you're doing that because you're in positive creation mode, yes. We need to clear the decks a lot of the times. And for anybody, again, who's worked with me, I focus a lot on clearing the resistance, clearing the blocks. And what that means is we operate 95% of the time from our habits, from our routines. Nothing wrong with them. Our routines help us get through the day, and our habits and our behaviors help us drive a car. But when we don't have that positive desire, that positive creation, that new intention that will inspire us to get out of bed at 4:30 in the morning, which is generally what time I wake up, between 4:30 and 5:30. I love it. It's like we're just going through the motions. Life doesn't have any new energy. And that's not a great place to create from. How are we going to create from intention to reality with that, oh, life is just... I'm not doing it very good, but Winnie the Pooh's Eeyore. Oh, he's got such a great voice, right? So if we're in an Eeyore mood, that's not a place to create. So we need to get aligned. So what I'd like to do is give you a quick little exercise to get aligned. If you're able to, you can grab your phone to make a couple notes or a piece of paper. If not, just think about it in your head. And if you can close your eyes, that's great. Please don't do this if you're driving. It's just to take a cleansing breath, exhale, and focus on your heart. Ask to be shown a memory of when you felt successful. And you accomplished something that maybe was challenging, but you did it. You followed through. You finished. Do you remember it? Good. Now look for another one. Now, Maybe you had that crucial conversation with a loved one. Maybe you let go of a project that was draining you, or a client if you're self-employed, or something else that you restored energy back to yourself. Look for another one. And you felt great. All right, good. One more. All right, focus on your heart again and ask to be shown a memory where you found the way forward even though you didn't know how to do it. You didn't know, but you trusted, you believed, and you stayed on track and you found the way forward. Maybe you asked someone for help and you courageously took action. All right, good. It's okay if you didn't have a memory for all three of those. That's fine if you had just one. But I want you to check in. How do you feel now? Check in. You feeling good? You feeling inspired? You feeling uplifted? Well, that's a great place to set your new intention. Okay, so let's define that now. Now, an intention can be for a day. You wake up in the morning, you look at your list, your big three, you write them down, okay? Or it could be something for a week or a month, or it could be something really big and you have no idea how you're going to bring it into reality. That's okay. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. So noticing how big the intention is helpful. A lot of people come to me, I kid you not, and I love them to pieces. But there's something in their wishing that's not grounded in reality. And yes, I do teach people how to work with goal setting and manifesting, but it's got to be it's got to be realistic, okay? We're talking about from intention to reality here, right? So it's got to be realistic. So somebody comes to me and they say, I want a home on the beach and I want to be generating $1 million a year. And I said, okay, great. I'll work with people with those. But then what I do is I do my due diligence. I need to bring them into some perspective of where they are now so they can understand there's some patterns they're going to shift. There's going to be some new behaviors required, new attitudes, new thinking, because they don't have it right now. So I ask them, what do you think I ask them? I ask them, if you don't mind, like, what did you make last year? And they'll say, about $30,000. I said, okay, great. I'll write that down. And then I'll say, do you currently own a home? I said, no, I'm renting. I said, okay, great. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with that because we can transform our life quickly when we're in alignment, we're maintaining a high vibration. Yes. Most people, unfortunately, don't operate from that high vibration, and that can do absolute no doubt. So I have a real heart-to-heart with them. And I say, how about we set that you set an intention about increasing your income to $100,000 this year. How's that sound? And they're like, no, I want $1 million. It's like, okay. So you see where this is going? So from intention to reality is we are looking at, is it realistic? Now, how do you know if it's realistic for you? Can you feel it happening in your body? Can you see it unfolding in your mind? Can you? If you can, we are good to go, my friends. In fact, there's a general rule of thumb I teach my clients. 15 seconds. Can you hold the image of you accomplishing that and maintain it without any intruding thoughts for 15 seconds? If you can, that's a really good indication that it is aligned and the timing's right. Okay. So that's just a quick tip to make sure that you are dealing with something that is reasonable, realistic, possible. Remember, what I do is I teach goal setting combined with manifesting. I'm not airy-fairy, pure wish and sit on the sofa and let it go and just it's going to come knocking on your door. Nope, I'm not that kind of gal. So I want to wrap up with this one other thing, and then I'll let you get back to your day. So this is a really good little grid, okay? It's recognizing where your manifesting might be blocked, okay? So if we think about it simply, there are 3 stages. There are more, But these 3 stages to manifesting, but this is primarily what we're talking about here, is we look at the 3, we've got the first one is the wish phase. Then the second is intention, and then receiving. So the first stage, or let's say you're thinking about something, okay? You've got a wish list. You know what you want to do. You know you're filled with creative ideas. You've got these dreams. You know what you want. Maybe you did a vision board. You're playfully asking for it, and you're upbeat. Ooh, this feels good. This is a juicy place to be. It feels like infinite possibilities. Okay. And then you move to the intention. Now, this is what we've been talking about today in this podcast. Now, how would you know if you're blocked in the wishing? I forgot to tell you that. If it's hard for you to imagine the future being any different than currently it is, and it's really hard for you just even imagine and connect with a new possibility. So say you're wanting to grow your income, and you look at the bank account and you see that number, and you really want to have 2 or 3 times what that bank account figure says. But a part of you says, deal in reality. Nope, we've got to just accept what this is. We've got to tighten our belts, and we just got to hit the pavement to make more money. Instead of realizing, well, at this wish phase, and if you're aligned and you can stay on track in these 3 stages, you can create from thought alone. You can use from intention to reality to accomplish things. So if you're blocked, you're not going to be able to imagine anything different than where you're at now. It's really hard to plan, really hard to dream. Okay, intention. So how do you know that you're in this? If we're talking about where you're manifesting might be blocked. So if it's not blocked, you're in inspired action. You start out in the morning, you know what you want to do, your energy's high, you're in full gear. You've got passion, you're present, you've got some decent project management skills. You've got belief, strength, determination. You've got to trust and knowing that it will unfold, even though if you don't know how. And you are tuned into your intuition. So now that's operating strategically from the intention, that intention stage. Okay. What would happen if you are not? Well, if you're blocked in the intention stage, then what can happen is that you're not taking action. Okay. You're in that, maybe you fall back to the dreaming. Okay. Or what can happen is that your energy goes up and down, up and down. You're all in, and then, I don't know if I really want that. You may switch channels. You may, switch, goals that you're working on, intentions you're working on. And there's not a lot of follow through. There's a lot of bluster, a lot of energy, but then it kind of peters out and you're not sticking with something. That would mean you're blocked in the intention stage. What about receiving? Let's talk about that. Well, interesting. This is the accomplishment. We've done it. We've hit the goal. We're excited. We're full of joy. We're grateful. We're feeling it. We successfully manifested our desire. We're resonating with our heart, and we are in bliss. That's receiving. So these 3 stages, wishing, intending or intention, and receiving. If you're blocked in the receiving, is that you'll be doing a lot of working, a lot of efforting. So you're in that stage 2 where you're pushing forward and you are just pedal to the metal. I'm going to work hard and I'm not going to take a break off. I'm just going to be mustering, going forward. You're not receiving, because once you've done the wishing and you've done some solid action, now, my friends, is the time to sit back and receive and to accept the blessings of what you've intended. So if you're blocked in the receiving, you could be really working hard and you're intending and you just never get to the finish line. Or you work so hard and you stop right before you're going to be successful. I used to do this. I raised a strong-willed child, and I I would do so well with the consistency. And then I would feel sad. I'm like, oh, he's really doing a good job. He's really efforting. And I would give in. And so all of that foundational work that I did with consistent behaviors got wiped away. I'm having those lessons training a dog right now. I need to listen to this podcast. Okay. So with receiving is that you've got to feel worthy. A lot of people can have blocks to receiving, and they are stuck in that mode of wishing or efforting. And what I also notice is I tend to attract females who have a highly developed masculine mind. What do I mean by that? They're intelligent, they're driven, they're accomplished. And that they have the highest blocks to receiving. They got to do it themselves, and that it's got to be hard. And no matter what they're doing, that they can undermine their success by switching to something else right before they're going to be successful. So if you have any blocks to either wishing, intending, or receiving, just listen to this and start to be conscious, because when we're aware and we're conscious, we have the possibility of shifting things. And if you want to learn how to clear blocks to receiving, I'm going to put a link in the show notes. Okay, as we start to wrap up, I just want to thank you for listening to the podcast. And if you find the shows useful, share it with someone, follow or subscribe so you get first access to the show, and you'll know exactly when I upload a new show. And remember, as you confirm yourself, you chart your own course to success. So much love, many blessings.